Welcome into the Cowboys Report. Today's video, we're going to take an honest and in-depth look into how the injury for Dak Prescott has impacted his contract talks, his future, if it has, with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Dallas, correctly by the way, fully expects Dak Prescott to be good to go for the 2021 season. Now, he's facing a 4 to 6 month timeline for his recovery from his compound fracture of his ankle. This does, if we're being honest here, kind of put the Cowboys and Dak in a bit of a tricky spot. Because the opening of that window, mid-February, is before NFL free agency. But the end of the window is after and just before the NFL draft. Now, you will know, of course, where you're drafting well before mid-February, in all honesty. The issue here is that it doesn't bode well for Dak in free agency, but the Cowboys, you also kind of can't let him hit the open market. Because even though he's coming off the injury, it's not a career ender, it's a season ender. Shouldn't have an impact on his career. Of course, you never know for certain. You have to be careful there. But what you can't do if you're Dallas is let Dak hit the open market. Because there are so many teams that would be like, yes, please, let's pay Dak whatever he wants. The Bears have no quarterback. The Colts have a massive amount of cap space, and Rivers is not very good. The Niners, Jimmy G looks bad. The Patriots and Saints are coached by smart guys. They love to get Dak in there, especially with their uncertain futures with their quarterbacks. And then you got teams like the Jets and Giants and Washington, Jacksonville and Denver, who, as we'll discuss later on, they're pretty bad. They're probably worse than the Cowboys are with Andy Dalton, which makes things tricky in terms of tanking for a quarterback. But somebody out there, folks, guess what? They're going to pay Dak Prescott. Watson got 39. Dak is staring down 38 on the tag. Why would he take less? So in the end, the Cowboys can't just let Dak hit free agency. And the franchise tag is almost 38 next year. So Dak, when he's negotiating with the Cowboys, why would he take less? Doesn't really make sense for him. So in the end, the most likely outcome to me is another franchise tag. I think that is where we're heading, and it is a very big majority on this. Now, I do want you guys here to get your votes in. What would you do with Dak Prescott? Type F for the franchise tag because you want to see him come back from injury. You don't want him in the open market. P for pay him, or W for let him walk. This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so get your votes in F, P, or W. Now, we're going to, even though we acknowledge that Dak is likely going to be here, very likely in 2021, the Cowboys would not be doing their job as an organization to at least explore other options. I'll go list by list and explain why in the end, it's probably still going to be Dak for the Cowboys. Now, internally, Dalton's first guy up, right? He's next quarterback. He's going to be the guy, at least for the time being. He takes over with Dak out. And I firmly believe this Cowboys team can win with Andy Dalton. But at age 32, the red rifle for what he's been over his NFL career, it's probably not going to be your long-term answer. Maybe he pulls a Nick Foles or a Ryan Tannehill, but that's pretty darn unlikely. Because we've seen high moments from Andy Dalton. Those Bengals teams, 2014-13 era, they were good. Awesome offensive line. Dynamic skill guys. Sound familiar? It still didn't do enough there. So I like Dalton. And if you're hoping for a Nick Foles situation, that's your best case outcome. And that's probably the scenario in which the Cowboys make Dalton their starter long term. But Dalton pulling a full-fledged Nick Foles and the Cowboys going full Ewing theory and winning a Super Bowl, it's very unlikely. I think in terms of the percent chance, it's maybe 1%. I don't consider it likely at all. I think it's very unlikely because those events are rare. They don't happen very often. But of course, you guys get your votes in here. Percent chance that Dalton ends up pulling a Nick Foles. Now, there's also Ben DiNucci right now on this Cowboys roster, the 7th round pick. Some of you convinced he's the next greatest thing. As a reminder, folks, it is a lot more likely that your day 3 picks, especially 7th rounders, are going to turn out more like Stephen McGee than they did Tony Romo. Those things, they just don't come along very often. So, yeah, let DiNucci develop, but if you're banking on him being the guy, you'll probably end up being disappointed. And by the way, Garrett Gilbert, he's on the roster now as well. Meh, whatever. He's played a little bit in the NFL. Former 5-star recruit at Texas, but, those Texas quarterbacks not panning out very well as of late. Now, before we get into some external options here, Cowboys jerseys, including Dak Prescott ones, are on sale for 25% off. So head over to chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. They got a whole bunch of them, some up on sale over 25% off. They got Dak and Lamb and Zeke and all kinds of players. We'll put that link in the comments and in the description. So all you guys have to do is click and go shop. Now, externally, if you're trying to find a franchise guy, the draft is almost always going to be your best bet. And looking ahead to the 2021 draft, there's one guy that makes a lot of sense. Trevor Lawrence. The clear-cut, I believe, especially when he's played this season, top quarterback in this draft class. The likely, if not expected and surefire, number 1 pick. He has played awesome for Clemson this year. 10 touchdowns, no picks, 72%. He has everything you want in a franchise quarterback. And if you're going to tank, you're going to do it for Trevor. And I am willing to say, you know what, Cowboys, go do it. Problem is, I don't know if you can. You might not be bad enough compared to the Giants and Jets and Washington and the Falcons and Jags. And all of a sudden, you're outside of Trevor Lawrence territory and some other quarterbacks we'll get into. So get your votes in here. Then we'll discuss those other quarterbacks here. W for win or T for tank. Now, outside of Lawrence, the next best guy for me so far, of course subject to change, is Justin Fields. He, I think, is a likely top 5, if not top 3 draft pick, and I think ends up being quarterback 2 off the board. He has the traits. I do not consider him a surefire star. And in reality, those things don't exist anyway. I mean, we'll break down the recent round 1 picks. A lot of busts in there. Fields, I like him, but is he going to be a top 10 quarterback? Maybe. You have one, though. And that's why it makes maybe more sense to not take Justin Fields. Now, Trey Lance, I actually think the next guy up here of the big 3, I actually think he has the higher upside than Justin Fields. Now, he needs more time. He needs to develop. He's raw. He is a boom or bust prospect. I like Lance. I like Fields. I love Lawrence. But I know for a fact that I have a top 10 quarterback on my team right now in Dak Prescott. I think Trevor Lawrence will get there. There is a shot that Fields and Lance get there. But the odds, folks, are always in favor of just keeping the top 10 quarterback that you have already. Yeah, he's expensive, but it's easier to find defensive guys later on in the draft than to luck into a top 10 quarterback. So for me, I would rather have Dak over a rookie, with one exception, Lawrence. I would take Trevor. But in general, it's better than Dak. Just draft a quarterback, guys, it doesn't work. If you want to type in your R, that's fine. But the other quarterback prospects this year, I mean, they're bad. Kyle Trask has no arm. He's pretty middling in all honesty. Brock Purdy has an even worse arm. Zach Wilson is the flyer if you want to see one. Jamie Newman opted out of Georgia. You can throw in Sam Ehlinger if you want. Bunch of middling backup quarterbacks. Desmond Ritter's kind of intriguing. The likelihood of those guys being top 10 quarterbacks, folks, it is starkly low. And here's why. Let's break down what's happened in recent years. I'll exclude the 2020 class because that hasn't happened. It's too early, right? Kyler Murray looks good. Daniel Jones, no. Dwayne Haskins already got benched, all right? And that's 2019. Let's keep going. 2018, Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold. Josh Allen looks better. Josh Rosen on team number 3. Lamar Jackson. Okay, that's one good one. One you'd probably take over Dak right now. Mitchell Trubisky. Yikes. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, 2017 turned out quite well. The problem is, you go to 2016 and 15, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, they're not better than Dak. The Cowboys wanted Paxton Lynch, and they didn't get him, and he sucks. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, those guys are already on their second teams. Here's what I'm saying, folks, is that when you have a top 10 quarterback, you keep him. Because historically, the past 5 years, and it's even less if you go beyond, to get a top 10 guy, about a 25% chance. What planet is I want to pass on my current top 10 guy to save money because I got a 25% chance of lucking into the next one? Now, Lawrence is the exception for me. But the problem is, more of the quarterbacks we just went through have been benched. You're more likely to get a complete bust at quarterback than to get a top 10 guy, which you already have. It is a coin flip to even get a legit starter. Now, the Cowboys, I think, are a pretty decent landing spot. And I again, between Trevor Lawrence, I would do that one. So for me, because of the uncertainty that we don't want to acknowledge when it comes to drafting a quarterback, there's two options for me. I guess, yeah, two options. It is either A, Trevor Lawrence, or Dak Prescott. And you will know that before free agency. Now, if you want to wait and not pay Dak immediately, okay, I can kind of understand that. I get where you're coming from with the injury. That is a justifiable concern. But the reality of drafting a quarterback for a team that wanted Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook and eventually settled on one Dak Prescott, why do you want to get rid of him? It makes more sense just to pay the guy that you got and draft the defense. That'll work out a little bit better. Now, we did mention some trade options in season for our previous Dak Prescott replacement video. You can go check out Sam Darnold there if you want, along with Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan. I don't consider them that likely for the long term because, they're just not that great. I think you're better off rolling with Lawrence or Dak Prescott. Now, again, as mentioned, you're better served looking at all your options. In free agency, I like Cam Newton. He's a good football player, bounce back season, but he's older with more injuries and not that much cheaper if he's good the rest of the year than Dak Prescott. Now, in the event that you try to go to a drafted quarterback, I don't mind adding Tyrod Taylor. He's a good bridge. I'm not convinced he's better than Andy Dalton. And in the end, he doesn't fix anything long term. So I like Tyrod Taylor, but also he lost his job to Justin Herbert. Finally, Jameis Winston. Look, Winston, when he first arrived at FSU, is the exact same quarterback. Reckless decision maker, big mistakes, and he's a downgrade from Dak. So why would I do it? Some other names: Phillip Rivers, Ryan Fitzpatrick, RG3. Guys, it's simple to me. You have a good thing in Dak Prescott. Maybe don't let him walk away for a complete unknown.